Live football game. Fitzy, do not ask me the outcome of this game.
Doesn't matter. She's opening doors for women everywhere. Woo! The pun game is strong to start.
We're 10 seconds into this show, and the puns are already off the rails. What's up, friends, and welcome in to Studio E in Bristol. I just want to make sure I get this all right. This, the college football show, presented by AT&T 5G, coming to you live from ESPN, the app, Twitter, YouTube. You're going to be able to authenticate within the app to watch whatever else we got going on.
You're doing a great job.
I'm not Trevor Scales, but I'm trying my best. If the people aren't familiar with Gary Striewski.
Yeah, well, usually Trevor Scales sitting in this seat. I'm Jason Fitz. And usually Trevor's in a much tighter shirt. Gary Striewski filling in for Trevor.
Yeah.
Did you not get the memo on the skin-tight shirts?
So here's the thing. Mid-quarantine, this hoodie used to be very, very skin-tight. And then I was like, I'm going to eat myself out of a job, Fitzy. So then I got on your GP, your game plan, and I was like, I got to stop. And now the hoodie is a little bit looser, but not as loose as I would like.
I just want to see Chunky Striewski. I think we've all, like...
Nobody wants to see Chunky Striewski, Fitzy. Can we see some football? Maybe?
Yeah, let's get to some highlights. You need to rebrand everything, Chunky Striewski. Let's start with some of the best action today. Alabama taking on Arkansas. Let's give the #1 team in all the land a little bit of love. Nick Saban out there warming up. Mac Jones getting ready for it, knowing it's going to be a day where he'll be used a lot. This thing's 3-3 in the first quarter. Devonta Smith says, you know what? I just like to score. So if you're going to put the ball in my hands, I'm going to get it done. 84 yards on this touchdown. Untouched.
He did the head tuck thing, and that's when you know he's gone. By the way, Alyssa Lang's dog picked Arkansas to beat Alabama in the upset of the century, and the dog is crated now and punished.
Luckily, Alyssa is better at this than her dog is. All right, so we flash forward here. Felipe Frank's trying to get a little bit of fun in. You got to throw the ball, Felipe. Did not work. Chris Allen stripped him. Recovered by DJ Dale right there. Great play from the defensive side of the ball for Bama. And obviously, that's going to lead to even more points. This is just like the whetting the appetite of the day for Alabama. They pick up on the ensuing drive. Najee Harris runs it in for a 5-yard touchdown, his second of the day. That makes it 24-3, but that was like an appetizer to the charcuterie course. There was a 52-3 thumping.
Are you talking about wood on meat? No, meat on wood, a charcuterie board. That's exactly what that is. And that's all it is, folks. We're staying in the SEC. Georgia at Mizzou. First quarter, 3rd and 9. Georgia 7-0, ball at midfield. That's JT Daniels finding James Cook, cooking up a 37-yard score. Georgia up 14-0, but this game would get a little bit snug. Look at JT. If he's balling like he was balling now, first half of the season, we might be having a different conversation. Second quarter, Georgia leading 14-7, 4th and 10, kicking from their 12, and Mason Pack packing things up. Mizzou taking the ball up at the 1-yard line. Ensuing play, they scored. Things knotted up, 14 apiece, 44 seconds left in the first. JT Daniels finding George Pickens, and this catch was something.
I mean, that is just scooping it off the floor like a roll about to hit the ground.
Save it, or just get rid of the carbs. Uga takes a 21-14 lead into half. Same score. Here we go. Daniels finding Pickens again on the slant. 31 yards later. UGA up 28-14. Their next possession, 3rd and 2. Zamir White, 43 yards. Call to the crib. 35-14. Bulldogs go up by that score. They go on to win 49-14.
Georgia fans singing "What Might Have Been" over and over again. Let's give the ACC a little love. North Carolina taking on Miami. Remember here, I want to remind you early on that Miami was the favorite in this game. Oh, my God. Michael Carter, 65 yards for the touchdown. That put North Carolina up 21-3. I'm going to learn to speak before the end of this highlight. We'll see. Second quarter, North Carolina up 24-3. Carter again with the run. This time 25 yards puts North Carolina up 31-3 at this point. I mean, the jukes were all over the place on this one. Great game offensively for North Carolina. Let's go to the third quarter. Sam Howell keeps it in. Swiggity swooty. He's going for that booty, as in touchdowns.
Ooh.
Gets the touchdowns. The refs reviewed it. Still gets the score. North Carolina up 41-10. They're not done, though. Little trickeration here. Look at this. Swoop, swoop, swoop. Oh, Sam Howell says, I will pass for them. I will run for them. I will catch for them. I want them all. Your U is upside down. 62-26 on this one. All right, let's get you a little bit of love here on Illinois Northwestern. Second quarter, 1st and goal. The Illini up 3-0. Peyton Ramsey, though, to Charlie Mangieri. 2-yard touchdown. Northwestern goes up 7-3. They're in Wildcat here. Cam Porter. Porter runs for the 2-yard touchdown. 14-3 at this point. Porter just getting running here. Direct snap later on, 3rd and 5. This time, no, I'm going to go there. And the burners. 18-yard touchdown, 21-3 for Northwestern at that point. Let's go later in the third, 4th and 4. Why only pick up 4 if you can pick up 32?
It's good math.
That's what Evan Holt is. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Northwestern goes up 28. They win 28-10. And players celebrate with the Land of Lincoln trophy. It's
Look at that hat.
Trophy.
Until the neck cramps up, Fitz.
Okay,
Until the neck cramps up. I think after this game, here we go.
Yeah, we're going to get into some of the games that are canceled right now or postponed over the course of the weekend. The big one highlighted Texas A&M, Mississippi, but obviously another big one in this conversation. Number 4, Ohio State taking on Michigan. We know that that's not happening, and we know the residual effect of that. So to get into some of this and really the college football playoff process as a whole, let's get a little expertise on the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. Gary Striewski, Jason Fitz, and we will welcome in Heather Dinich, college football reporter extraordinaire, to join us. Heather, thank you so much for the time. As always, we appreciate it. I just alluded to the Big Ten conversation that I know we've talked about all week. They decide to go ahead and change their self-restrictions to allow Ohio State into this game. I guess the conspiracy theory question is, would they have done this for another team? Would they have done as much for Indiana?
No.
Well, let me tell you this, that the reason they were able to justify this, as the athletic directors talked about it on Wednesday morning, was because even if Ohio State would have played Michigan, win or lose, they would have been atop of the Big Ten's East Division standings. They would have played in that conference championship game anyway because of the head-to-head win against Indiana. So I don't know if they would have done it. Probably not, because it would have been harder to justify because the Hoosiers lost that game. Now, if the roles had been reversed, then maybe they would.
Okay, Heather. So you mentioned Indiana. How should they feel sitting at 6-1? And we know the head-to-head math obviously doesn't add up. But yet still, it seems to probably them and a lot of other people from the outside looking in is a little bit of preferential treatment. Everybody else in the Big Ten had to play. They're not getting the field goal post moved back for them.
Well, if you're Indiana, and they did express their disappointment, but I also do think there is a concession that they didn't win that game. But of course, Indiana's disappointed. But at the same time, guys, yes, you're trying to get the most popular kid to the prom. And I think that was part of the athletic directors making that decision. They realize that. They know the optics of this. They know, I mean, it's absolutely blatant, and they have to live with that. But I think that the majority of people within that room were able to live with that. And don't forget, look, as of last year, the prediction for revenue for teams that get into semifinals, not teams, excuse me, conferences, each conference that got a team into a semifinal was awarded $6 million per team that got in. So there are financial gains here as well. I don't know exactly how that's distributed throughout the entire Big Ten, but everyone, even Indiana, stand to gain something if Ohio State's in the playoff.
Heather, I'm going to kind of skip around here a little bit because that financial consideration is an important one because let's be real, Gary Barta is the college football playoff executive committee. He runs the whole thing, right? But at the same time, he is the athletic director in Iowa. Would it not, even though he recuses himself from the conversation, isn't there at least some perceived conflict of interest that the person that's in these conversations to some level knows what the committee's looking for and then goes back to the Big Ten and says, hey, guys, here's what I think based on what I know, which is more than any of us would know.
Understand the question, fair question. Gary Barta would tell you it's a fair question. And I asked him that on Wednesday evening, whenever it was we talked this week, I spoke with him. And he said not only did he recuse himself and Iowa from the vote, he didn't participate in the discussions. He was essentially a ghost on Zoom listening in. And he called Kevin Warren, the Big Ten commissioner, and he said, I'm not going to participate in these discussions and I'm not going to vote in this. But I want to be on and listen just to hear what my colleagues in the conference are saying about it. And everyone respected that because they know he is the CFP chair in the face of that committee. So he did recuse himself. I'm not sure what more he could possibly do, but he didn't vote, and I think by putting himself in that position, he did the right thing, and he can say that when people ask that question.
Well, and let's be real, as one of my buddies, Braden Gall, always told me, fair is a place where a pig gets a ribbon, not life. So I understand that this is not particularly fair to a lot of people.
That,
thank you. You got to live in the South to get those analogies, Gary. All right, so let's turn pages here and talk a little bit about one of the teams not in this conversation at all for the college football playoff, and that would be Michigan. As Michigan's season comes to an end now, and we don't know what's next for Jim Harbaugh, realistically, how do you see them pursuing, or how do you see them moving forward with Michigan?
Well, look, I'll be perfectly honest. I thought Jim Harbaugh would actually want to go to the NFL, and apparently maybe that's not right. Maybe I'm completely off on that. But if Michigan wants to keep him, it would seem like one option they would have is offering him maybe a shorter-term contract, and that way he can at least recruit without this hovering over him. I think they need to bring his salary down. He's making over $7 million, and wins and losses, the product on the field is not adding up to that, right? So can you use that money and better allocate it to surround yourself with amazing coordinators that can bring you to that elite championship level? And at the end of the day, Jim Harbaugh is Michigan, right? And if that's who they want leading their program, then that's what they get, right? But can they do a better job moving that money around for coordinators and trying to recruit some players in there, particularly at quarterback?
Heather, as we take a look at the latest CFP rankings brought to you by AT&T 5G, obviously we ain't going to see Michigan on that. The top 6 remain unchanged, but a very interesting development. 2-loss Iowa State leapfrogging undefeated Cincinnati. Now, Heather, I was never that good at math, but can you please help me try to figure out how that math equates? A 2-loss team leapfrogging an undefeated Cincinnati squad.
We talked about before, has said repeatedly that the eye test is going to matter this year more than any other year. And I think one thing that's been really great about the Big 12 is it's reminded everyone how much better teams get when they have a 10-game season, right, from September through Thanksgiving. You see that, and we've seen that not just from Iowa State, but also from Oklahoma. So they really like what they see from Iowa State's offense. They're one of the best teams in the country right now in terms of how they're playing. That being said, if you're a Cincinnati fan, you are mad about this ranking, right? And understandably so. But the Bearcats haven't had a chance to play or show the committee remind them how good they are. But Barta said that Iowa State moved up because of what it did, not what Cincinnati hasn't been able to do.
I guess what's frustrating for me in some sense, Heather, is, I mean, what you just said makes so much sense, but should Cincinnati have to remind the committee? I mean, their charge is to find the best teams in college football. I mean, it shouldn't take a team playing every single week. If Cincinnati can't make it into the playoffs in a year like this, when they have played 8 games and they are undefeated, what's the point of playing football if you're not one of these major schools?
Well, I wouldn't say that they can't. Look, Cincinnati is a long shot. Group of 5 teams are considered a long shot every year, right? But think about this scenario. I'll pose this to you, right? Alabama beats Florida in the SEC championship game. They're in. Clemson knocks off Notre Dame. Clemson's in. Ohio State wins the Big Ten. They're probably in. Who gets that 4th spot? Are we talking about Cincinnati and Iowa State and Texas A&M and Notre Dame? Probably. I can almost guarantee you the selection committee is at least considering all of them. And you have to remember how important conference championships are. If Cincinnati can punctuate that resume against a ranked Tulsa team and win the AAC, how much does that change the Bearcats' value in the eyes of the committee? My gut says probably not enough. You're probably going to see Notre Dame in that 4th spot in that scenario, but it's still possible, and I wouldn't write it off over the long term either.
Well, Heather, we always appreciate your expertise, and admittedly, my love of Graeter's ice cream is giving me a bias at this point. Thank you, as always, for hanging out with us, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
And I will just say quickly that it is at least frustrating. If you're Memphis, if you're UCF, if you're Cincinnati, these are programs that have been asked to put a lot of money into football. They've done it. They've built these programs into continually successful programs, and they're constantly left out. So
what more do we have to do?
Right.
And by the way, you'd be a good prosecutor. You ask those tough questions. He really gets in there. All right, why are we here today? Because we're previewing a special game. Even though the circumstances might not be as special this year as compared to years past, I'm talking about the helmets.
No, the helmets.
Better behind here. You didn't know where I was going with that.
I didn't know you were.
Like, Gary, what are you talking about? I'm talking about USC, UCLA tonight on ABC. I got to get to this. Pac-12 primetime matchup between number 15 USC and UCLA, undefeated USC versus an unranked UCLA. It's the battle for the victory bell. Let's take a look and listen to the historic rivalry as the bell gets toted in. A report from the field.
USC, UCLA.
Proximity has bred hostility. Sometimes in this game, it's brother against brother.
The crosstown rivalry. You never know what's going to happen. Heisman pops it up. There it is. Touchdown. This is Reggie Bush to the corner. Dive. What a play by Eric McNeil. Allen. Touchdown. 40 carries, 219 yards.
We know how important this game is to both fan bases. This is a game that you get those bragging rights for a year.
Hey there, Allison Williams joining you from the beautiful but empty Rose Bowl here in Pasadena, the site of tonight's crosstown rivalry between 15th ranked USC and UCLA. The Trojans have already locked up the Pac-12 South and will play for the Pac-12 championship next weekend, but still plenty on the line for the Trojans, including the always important bragging rights. Remember, a lot of these guys grew up playing against one another. They share the same city, so you expect to see a lot of trash talk throughout the course of this one. Also expect to see a lot of offense. Both teams have their offenses really humming right now. Keaton Slovis, quarterback for USC, completes over 70% of his passes. UCLA, led by Dorian Thompson-Robinson, real dual threat quarterback. And as much as Chip Kelly loves to spread it out, he spreads it out to run the ball. They're the 16th ranked rushing offense in the country. USC knows it is imperative for them to come out and stop the run. It's going to be a 4:30 kickoff here on the West Coast, 7:30 back on the East Coast. Should be a fun one. We'll see you tonight on ABC.
All right, number 15 USC taking on UCLA tonight. You can watch that on ABC. You can also do that right here just by authenticating. Stick in here in the app. Hang out with us. I know what I'm trying to say. It's Gary Striewski's hair. It's just very distracting. Figure if we're going to talk about this game, what we should do is bring in the only person on campus that's better looking than Gary.
Somebody in mind?
Yeah, I think so. We got one guy, QB1, Mark Sanchez, joining us. Look at that. Mark, thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Mark, also quick to point out that he is undefeated as a starter against UCLA.
Right, baby.
That came in 2008, but we're fast forwarding to tonight's matchup, and every preview, every game cast, all the numbers say USC should win this game and win it handily. Is that what's going to happen tonight?
Well, I know they only have what I think the spread is like 3.5, so I wish that was a little bit higher for my guys. But listen, the most important thing I got from both of these coaches, remember I played for Chip Kelly, so that's a tough one for me. I want him to do well, but I don't want him to, beat my Trojans. But what Chip said is, listen, they have to slow down the speed of this offense and really disrupt their timing, because what USC is able to do is get the ball to the perimeter quickly. They can barely run the ball, right? We've seen that, but they can throw it. They sure can throw it, and they throw it a ton. They space out those offensive linemen up front. They get the ball going sideline to sideline, and instead of handing off, quick handoffs, dives, traps, and powers, they just chuck wide receiver screens out to the perimeter, make your defense run sideline to sideline, get you tired, and then gash you with a big play down the field. For Chip Kelly, they have to establish the run game, shorten the game, and limit possessions. But then on the other side, Clay Helton's talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyler Vaughns, but he said Drake London might be primed and ready to have a huge night tonight. And some of those big splash plays they have down the field. He's a big hooper in high school, a great college prospect, and decided to play football instead. They kept him close. They kept him in L.A. as a big-time recruit, and this guy can go up and jump out of the gym and win those 50-50 balls. So he said look forward to him having a great night tonight. Okay, so you mentioned the name Clay Helton. Now I'm going to rewind back in time. My first ever college football show with ESPN, 2016. I'm hanging out with Mike Golick Jr. down in Charlotte, and one of our first shows, the question was, is Clay Helton going to survive the year with USC? It's like an annual thing. This team is undefeated now, and after a recruiting class that was questionable coming into the year for a lot of different reasons, are you ready to now look at it and say, okay, Clay Helton is the man, and he's going to be the long-term future for USC? Well, listen, I think he's done a great job with what he's had. Every year they want more from somebody there at USC, just like these other blue blood programs, whether it's John Harbaugh at Michigan, whether it's Coach Herman at Texas. You know, in some ways, those big schools kind of eat their own if you don't perform right away. So he's held off the dogs and kept his job and kept his job alive. But most importantly, he's been the benefactor this year of these scheduling changes due to COVID. And remember, they were supposed to play Alabama week 1. Okay, that would have been a tough outing potentially. Then because of COVID as well, no Notre Dame and no Oregon on the schedule, which was originally scheduled for them. So this has been a much easier route. And, you know, now they're undefeated, looking forward to a berth in the Pac-12 championship. Totally different outlook and really changes people's perspective on Clay. But credit to him for getting his guys ready to play under any circumstances.
Mark, can we go flip side to the other sideline? A guy you mentioned you played for, Chip Kelly, his first winning season at UCLA. So no matter the outcome of this game, is that a little bit more assurance for the Bruins going forward?
I think so. And the trajectory of this team is working in the right direction for Chip. If you look at their losses, it was to Oregon with a backup quarterback, and really they had a failed Hail Mary attempt before halftime. They only lost by 3 to the Ducks, who are probably the best team in the North, potentially either them or Washington, but they only lose by 3, and they give up a pick 6 on a failed Hail Mary where the quarterback holds the ball a little too long and it goes the other way. So they're in these ball games. They lost by 6 to Colorado. I mean, they've played much better. They're scoring way more points. They're averaging over 30 points a game. So this is what Chip Kelly was known for at Oregon, scoring a ton of points, scoring fast, and leaving you with your head spinning on defense. And so he's starting to get that identity back, and that bodes well for the Bruins and for his job.
Okay, so this is all very official and very professional. Now we're going to take things completely off the rails. You know, I'm sitting in my kitchen yesterday morning. I'm watching Get Up, as always, and I see my buddy Mark on there, and I'm like, man, I know him. He's famous.
He said, oh, no.
And then all of a sudden, this moment happened, and we need some explanation. First, these are the very words of Mark Sanchez yesterday on Get Up.
Mark Sanchez, who wins?
I still can't go with the Browns. They always let me down, you know, like the good-looking Instagram model that's actually just really good at filters and, you know, editing her pictures, and then you wake up and there's fake eyelashes all over your pillow. I'll go with the Ravens.
It's an experience I'm not familiar with.
That's an experience.
I'm not sure I've ever seen Greeny squirm so much. Care to elaborate, Mark?
Listen, you know, my therapist says it's not a big deal. So we've got it under control. Actually, that was a story from somebody else, but I kind of hijacked it for TV.
Mark, as always, we appreciate you hanging out. I hope you'll still come back after we threw you under the fire for that one, but we always appreciate your time, my friend.
Anytime.
Countdown to time now for our AT&T countdown to the CFP National Championship, where we take a look at great performances by Alabama's Devontae Smith, who takes this pump back 84 yards to the house to lead number 1 Alabama to a 52-3 thrashing of Arkansas.
Was it going to be any different? Bama just rolling. This is a football show. We're going to show you more football. America's team, Coastal Carolina at Troy. We're in the fourth quarter. Grayson McCall, that's a 2-yard score. But Troy trying to be the spoiler. Fourth quarter, 5 yards out. Jamontez Woods, that's a 3-yard score. Coastal just up 5. Troy gets a huge stop, then gets the rock. Troy takes the first lead of the game, 38-35. The Chanticleers trying to remain undefeated. 40 seconds left for them, 1st and 10. Grayson McCall finds Hiley for a 23-yard score. Coastal regains the lead, gets the win 42-38, and that's what a fierce Rooster is supposed to do.
Wow. Well, let's find out what they did in Wisconsin, taking on Iowa. Iowa up 6-0 in this one, where we pick it up. And Amir Smith-Marset gets the 19-yard touchdown pass here. Absolutely beautiful work by him adjusting to that ball. And to follow that up, Brandon Smith with the 2-point conversion. Look at that. Iowa up 14-0. A little snow falling. Feels like football. Let's go to later in the third. Smith-Marset again, this time for 53. Oh, look at him, just wide open. And then the unnecessary jump. Like, you know, you're going to regret that when you get older. You're like, oh, my knees, my back.
What you mean? He's going to. Oh, here comes the snow.
Oh, look at that. The snow is coming down. And, oh, he's jingle belling all the way. Look at that. Tyler Goodson, 80 yards. Oh, put another log on the fire. He's hot. Iowa gets the 28-7 win.
I can't keep up with you, Fitzy. So because of that, we're going go Army, beat Navy. Army, Navy. Navy wins the toss. Here they come in the uniforms. This is just an incredible matchup. Navy wins the toss. They'd have to punt on their first drive. 30 seconds in the first quarter, 2nd and 9. That's Army quarterback Tyler completing a 20-yarder to Tyrell Robinson. That puts Army in field goal range. They take a 3-0 lead. Can you see through the fog? I can't. Navy's ball, 1st and 10. Xavier
It's a little foggy.
A little bit. Bobbing and weaving through the fog. 1st and goal, Navy. So
That's
this, of
fogging
course,
and weaving?
I like that. We're going to take that.
Okay.
1st and goal from the 1-yard line. 4th and goal from the 1. Army's defense gets the stop on 4th and goal. Army strong. I think that's what they say in their commercial. An Army of 1. Turnover on downs. We're in the 4th quarter now after a Navy fumble recovered by Army. 2nd and goal from the 9-yard line. Tyler does it himself. Runs it in for the 9-yard score. Thoughts on the uniform matchup today?
You know what? I always look forward to it every year. This year, I wasn't as in love.
Really?
I'll be honest.
Through the fog, I can't really make them out, but I think they look cool. I'm pretty sure, Fitzy. Army's up 10-0. Later in the 4th, Navy deep in their own territory. They're just trying to figure something out, trying to get something to work. That doesn't. It's a safety. Army up 12-0. They go on to win. Go Army. Beats Navy 15-0. But there are no losers in this matchup.
That Army defense, something special. All right, let's take a look. Little SEC action right here. History is how we started the show. Vanderbilt's Sarah Fuller. You saw last week that she obviously kicked off to lead the second half. Well, now she came in for an extra point. A little bit of history as she becomes the first woman to score in Power 5 history with the extra point that ties the game at 7-7 in Nashville, my home away from home.
I'm visiting in March.
Well, are you? I've got all the list of all the places. Once the world's open, I can make sure it's a great experience for you. It was not a great experience for the doors yet in this game, although Sarah Fuller did open some doors for women everywhere. Oh, you're welcome. Look at that pick, one-handed. Absolutely beautiful work by Bryce Thompson. Gets the touchdown. That puts them up 14-10, and frankly, they never really had to look back after this one. It has not been a great season for the Vols, but this was a great day as Velus Jones Jr. goes 74 yards with this touchdown.
Got to wrap up.
I mean, this thing was it was exactly what I think most people expected. Vanderbilt finishes the year winless after a 42-17 drubbing at the hands of the Vols. And get a little love here. Oh, Buffalo love. Look at Lance Leipold there. Keep an eye on that name. He's going to be a hot coaching candidate this offseason for a lot of teams. Buffalo has been spectacular. Jared Patterson, a big reason why. Takes it from the 2-yard line, runs it in for the touchdown, puts Buffalo up 7-0. Middle of the first quarter. Trying to get a field goal. Nope, not here, sir. We will take this. We will scoop it up, and we will go to where the leftovers live in the end zone. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I thought you were going to say the fridge.
Oh, that's not a bad idea, too.
Where do you keep your leftovers, Fitz?
Well, I mean, you scoop it up. That's where left. I don't know. So we're picking it up second quarter. Buffalo up 21-10 here. Jared Patterson takes a handoff. And, you know what I'm going to say, swiggity, swooty.
Something about a booty.
He's coming for that booty.
Okay, there
booty
it
is in like treasure is in touchdown, but he didn't quite get it right there.
Sure. Whatever you say, Fitz.
But it does set up a 1st and goal for Buffalo. Jared Patterson says, if you won't give it to me the first time, I will take it the next time, and you can't stop me. Buffalo goes up 28-0 and ends up winning 56-7.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, liftoff.
Ready.
You know you are making it.
I'm ready.
I mean, when you get a graphic and your name, it's Fitz's 5 where we
I'm
ranked
really
it.
ready.
If you wanted to use a word like sensual to describe like the sensation of just seeing this, like what comes to mind?
I mean, sensual to begin with. I mean, just absolutely erotic if we want to go down that route. But I don't think we will, even though this is the internet. All I know is that I am excited. I am ecstatic. I am ready for this. They asked me, hey, Gary, can you fill in on the college football show presented by AT&T 5G? I said, yes, only if I can partake in Fitz's 5.
You know what? I've spent the year making Trevor uncomfortable, and I think this is payback. payback now that you've called it erotic. Okay, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to rank the 5 non-quarterback, I should say, Heisman contenders, people that should be on the list. And why? Because look at this list. The odds to win the Heisman Trophy. This might as well tell you the odds to win only applies to quarterbacks. Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Ian Book. That's your top 5, 1 through 5. And yesterday on College Football Live, I was talking to Pollock and Coach Moore, and those two kept talking about the fact that, well, it always goes to a quarterback. It shouldn't. It always goes to a quarterback. We are going to buck the trend here.
I got a question.
Okay.
Why are we surprised all of a sudden this year that, like, oh, man, it's only quarterbacks that, like, fill the top 5, 6, 7 candidate conversation? Like, this is every single year. Fitz, you know more than me.
Yeah, but we got to fix the problem. Like last year, Chase Young should have been much more in the conversation. This year, I get it. This year's actually a little more. There are actually very deserving quarterbacks. But that being said, I got to commit to being a troll, right? Which means I got to be angry about it. All right, I'm going to go 5 to 1 on my rankings here. These are the top 5 non-quarterback Heisman finalists in my mind. In at number 5, we will go with a little defensive action. And at number 5, Patrick Surtain II
Love to
comes
see
in.
it.
Nobody throws at him. Like, so I would love to tell you the great stat line on Surtain, but there isn't one because nobody throws at him.
Listen, is it 1997 again? Are we talking Charles Woodson for the Heisman? No, not quite. But it's been that long since a defensive back has won the Heisman. And that's the only time a defensive back has won the Heisman in recent memory.
All right, and I've gotten a lot of arguments from some of my buddies as I was putting this list together. They think he's overhyped. I'm just saying he's going to be at the top of the draft chain. All right, next up at number 4, I'm going to give this kid love because he's a beast. Jared Patterson. I'll pull this stat line here. I've got this up in front of me. 107 carries so far this year. 107 carries for 920 yards. That's right, 16 touchdowns. He's averaging 8.6 yards per rush. And you can say what you want about the fact that he doesn't play for an Alabama or a Clemson, but the fact is all he does is erupt for yards and touchdowns. The Buffalo Bulls are doing something spectacular this year. Love this kid.
I don't care about any of those stats that you just rattled off. The only one I care about is how he scored 8 touchdowns in one freaking game, which could probably, hurt the whole Heisman conversation because that's half the TDs he scored.
Okay, but
anyway,
look, I respect it. He's on a tear. He's missed some games and he's still got 920. All right, next up on my list. Earlier this year, I said he would have been my Heisman winner. He's dropped a little on the list, and that goes to Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne, absolutely a special, spectacular running back. And again, you're talking the numbers don't lie on him. 758 yards, 12 touchdowns, averaging about 5 yards a carry. But I will say he's fallen a little bit because in the last little stretch of the season, it feels like teams have figured out, hey, we're going to stop this kid no matter what. Notre Dame did it. Maybe there's a little bit of a blueprint. He's been a little less video gamey.
I wish that the Heisman had a category with, like, character. Because this guy has it. He didn't have to come back to play for Clemson. He wanted to come back and play for Clemson. And alas, here we are having that conversation. But he's like the dude, everyone throws around the intangible word, but like when Clemson needed to get out of a hole, like he's the guy you give the ball to. Yes, the stats aren't sexy, but I got a soft spot for Travis Etienne and Clemson as a whole. So it hurts that he's not in the actual conversation, and even hurts that he's only 3 on this list. Well, I can't let my personal feelings get into this, Fitz. I can't let my feelings get in the way of Fitz's 5.
Look, I'm with you, though. Like a running back that comes back, takes more hits. A lot of respect for. Next up on my list, the number 2 of the non-quarterback Heisman finalists this year, the other Kyle. Kyle Pitts. Obviously, Kyle Trask gets all the love. But what Kyle Pitts is doing is absolutely sensational. 641 yards and 11 touchdowns on only 36 catches. Pollock said yesterday he is the unguardable force in college football. It doesn't matter who you try to put on him, no one can stop him. He is a huge part of why this offense is so electric, so dynamic. I understand he is a tight end by description, but I also know, as a humble brag, Biletnikoff Award voter, that at this point the vote's on the best wide receiver in the country. I'm throwing that humble brag out. As a voter, I gave him a nomination vote on him because he lines up in such a way that he is also playing wide receiver also. So absolutely incredible work by him.
You can't take a look at only one side of this equation where we're like, oh my gosh, Kyle Trask has 38 touchdowns or pushing 40 touchdowns. Well, a big chunk of that went to this guy. But tight ends they just get no love. But before we get to number 1, I'm a little nervous because there are obviously a lot of good names left on this list, but there's only one more spot. And I'm interested to see where you're about to go because this can go from like a really good list to like, Fitz, what the heck are we doing here?
It's going to go to an epic list because we all know that he should be at the top of the conversation.
Wow.
And we know that Devontae Smith is absolutely having a year. And who would have ever imagined that Alabama would become wide receiver university? Like, remember a time when we laughed about their inability to push the ball down the field? 80 catches, 1,300 yards, 15 touchdowns, and absolutely, I mean, he is just continuing in the tradition. We saw a couple of Alabama wide receivers go in the first round last year. We all know Amari Cooper a couple of years before that. He is going to be that sort of electric NFL Sunday talent. He already is that electric. A big part of why Mac Jones is as successful as he is Devontae Smith, and absolutely the front runner for that Biletnikoff Award.
The Biletnikoff Award, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now you get to grade it. You get to react. We got some emojis for you.
Everybody watching the show knows exactly what I'm about to have to do. You forced my hand because there's
You're going to give me the 100?
There's another Alabama player on this list that I think you intentionally left off just so we can have some fodder, just so we can have some stuff to talk about and argue about. This list went from 100 to heartbroken to clown show, but even past clown show, this list is straight up, hold on.
Wait, you're giving me the poop emoji?
Doo-doo.
I got the poop emoji?
Because Najee Harris isn't on the list.
You are a guest in my home, good sir.
And I ain't going to wipe my feet, dang it. Fitz, this Joker's got 1,300 yards, 20 touchdowns. He's the reason Mac Jones is having the seasons he's having because everybody is focused on stopping senior Najee Harris. This list is no list that I want to respect if he's not on it. Is that good?
Yeah, that was good. I liked your fire on it. Okay. I'll say this. There was a big decision for me because I was either going to put Najee Harris at the top of the list or Devontae Smith at the top of the list. My mind is that which one takes more weight if they're not there. And to me, that's Devontae Smith. That's why I've got Smith at the top of the list. But that means that I'm basically saying that the one thing defenses have to take away to beat Alabama is Smith. And if that's the case, then Najee falls off.
If we were a little bit closer, if this wasn't for the whole social distancing, I might try to challenge you to a fight, maybe even a gentleman's duel.
Wow.
White gloves and everything.
You know what?
We're pushing things forward. I gotta read a promo, Fitz.
Yeah, you gotta talk about college football playoffs. Come on.
Hear me out here. You can't make it to the playoff in Miami. Join us virtually for the College Football Playoff all-access experience featuring exclusive content and the chance to win prizes. Register today at collegefootballplayoff.com/all-access. I feel better now.
4 teams, 2 semifinals. New Year's Day, the College Football Playoff lives on ESPN.
I'm happy to say that Fitz and I have regained our friendship. We're talking LSU. We're talking Florida now. First quarter, 3rd and goal. No score. Kyle Trask does it himself. 1-yard sneak. Gators up 7-0. She's very happy about it. You chomp on that one right there. But later in the first, 2nd and goal, same score. Max Johnson, Jeray Jenkins. That's a 5-yard score. We're tied up 7-7, and that's where we currently stand. Look, I can't do it.
Trevor Scales may not be here tonight sitting with us, but he is always here in spirit because his face still made it on the graphic. I don't know how that happened. This is what we do every week. He's Gary Striewski. I'm Jason Fitz, and we've celebrated the good. Now let's celebrate some of the interesting. Let's take a look at the things that made us say, bruh, delivered by Pizza Hut. Starts with a little bit of Rutgers here. Look at this. Rutgers with the trick play. They've been doing this all year with some crazy trick plays. The ball eventually ends up in the hands of Bo Melton. Takes it 44 yards for the Scarlet Knights touchdown. You in on this one?
I don't know where's the bruh at.
I mean, I think that's a pretty good play.
Oh, are we bruhing the defense, the entire defense?
I mean,
or are we bruhing? It's been a while, Fitzy.
Look, you know what? You never know.
Me, I deserve a bruh. Like, figure it out.
Well, no, we never know. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be ugly. Ball State. This one exciting. Time for one last play. Western Michigan laterals.
Okay.
And then laterals.
Okay.
And then laterals.
I see
and
where
then
we're going.
Laterals.
Okay, they're going the wrong direction.
You're going the wrong way. How do they know which way we're going?
Other way, boys. Other way, boys.
No. This is just over and over. Up. Got it. Up.
Okay.
Got it.
Ball State's actually playing this how teams should play. Don't chase the ball. Let them go further back.
I mean, this is, little dink and dunk. This feels like a bunch of little brothers running after big brothers. That's what's happening.
Here we go.
I'm waiting for, all of that.
Bruh.
Oh, wait. Oh, there we go. Team is on the field. Look at that.
Whoa.
Look.
The band is on the field.
The game is not over, and they are out on the field. Oh, great googly moogly. What's going on here? It's still happening.
Wait.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Flags everywhere.
Oh, and it didn't count.
Absolute anarchy. Wait, what?
Yeah, they're telling me in my ears it didn't count. There had to be a rule break somewhere. Like, there's a flag on the play. I mean, at that point, like, the refs tell you at the end the game ends with the touchdown taken off. Everybody had to leave the field. I just love all of this.
It's that forward pass right there.
Oh, yeah. Like, tell somebody at that point. Like, just somebody stop the madness.
Rules are rules, Fitzy. But Western Michigan should have been giving some sort of credit for the absolute insanity that they allowed to transpire over the course of that.
Nah, we're giving it to Ball State. All right, let's go to Rutgers here.
Bruh.
Player does a turf angel at midfield.
After Joseph Petrino misses it?
So Maryland kicker Joseph Petrino didn't hit the 50-yard field goal and then made a turf angel right on the middle of the field. I don't know how I feel about that. That's a level of trash talking. Let's get some Sparty action in here.
Ooh, front flip.
I mean,
Okay. Can we pay attention to the lower third graphic? Because that sums it up perfectly. Just doing the most for no reason. Dude, he is doing the most for no reason, bruh.
Oh, Army had a bruh moment here. Hard to see it, but field goal attempt went wrong. It's never good when the kicker stops in the middle of it. It's like, check it out. It's like, nope. There we go. And the way no. I mean, nothing was good about that. It's foggy, it's wet, it's bad conditions.
Oh, you can't see anything. Like, that fog is thick.
Yeah,
C.
And now we've got a little bit of snow action going on here. Iowa punter Tory Taylor drops a snap, tries to punt it from the ground. Like another, there's just moments where you're like, nope, just.
Hold on.
Feels like half the times that's what we would see some random kid do.
That's against the rules, right?
I mean, it's what a random kid would do, right?
Should we check the rule book? Pretty sure you can't do that.
I like the entrepreneurialism there. Like, he's got a little bit of like, hey, I'm just going to get things done. I don't know how I'm going to get things done. I'm going to get things done. That's a little bit of bruh fun for you. Now let's get to the big highlights you got to see that include some judging. It's time for my favorite part of the day.
Holy cow,
I don't know if you've seen this, but like, we got a big old cow, like.
That is a beautiful bovine.
I don't know who took that picture.
I think I'm starting this right here.
You
Fitzy.
are. Go.
Oh, Arizona State. I like this one. Chinese-born walk-on Jackson He scoring his first touchdown. And you are crazy if you think I am giving this any less than 100. Not only did ASU absolutely stomp out Arizona to the point where Arizona fired Kevin Sumlin literally the next day, a.k.a. today. But, yes, walk-on, Chinese-born, TD, that's 100 all day in
You're
my
giving
book.
out double moves out of the gate?
Yeah, man. I feel
oh,
generous.
my
It's
God.
the time of giving.
All right, let's go to my first highlight fun in this one. I still love, by the way, the massive nose on the cow. I don't want to know who took the picture. Okay, we mentioned it earlier. We've mentioned it several times. Sarah Fuller came in and made history. She scored an extra point. At this point, she becomes the first woman to score a point in a Power 5 game. I realize that Vandy got their butt kicked, and there's a lot of conversation about where that program is, but this is a door opener. We do something on Spain and Fitz called Game Changers for women that have come into male-dominated areas and managed to have incredible success. Sarah Fuller joined us last week to talk about it because she is a game changer. The door has been opened, and for that reason, it's always easy to give the double move out. Give 100 for that one. All right, and I'm going to take the next one, too, because I'm selfish.
Please do.
Well, that's what I like to do. Next up, we'll give a little love to Alabama, and it comes in the form of a play we've seen a couple of times over the course of the night. Devonta Smith fielding a punt and saying, you know what? Just so you know, on Sundays, not only will I absolutely destroy secondaries, but should I choose to, I can destroy your special teams as well. 84 yards untouched, turns on the turbo. It's just absolutely unfair how athletic he is. But because of that athleticism, kind of hurts your score in this one. I'm going to be honest about it. It's good, but what did he do? He just
Fitzy, you're giving him a bad grade because he's an athlete?
Well, I mean, I'm just like, what did he do? He ran through the lane that everybody else created for him. He gets an 80. That's the way we do. That's how we do, Gary.
You're feeling so generous. You were going up, 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 and then you just decided, you know what, not today. Okay, this is Penn State's Jahan Dotson evades a couple tacklers on his way to an 81-yard punt return crib call. I'm not going
look at that. See, those are moves.
No, yeah, I'm not giving credit to the other 10 guys on his team because my guy was bobbing it and weaving, and he was absolutely evading all obstacles in his way, puts the jet fumes on, 81 yards to the cribbo. I am giving this because I feel bad that you've given me grief for giving out 100s, so I'm giving him a 99, which is still
oh my God,
shake a stick out.
Trevor Scales is not sitting here today, but he can feel this right now. There's a disruption in the force with your soft scoring. Okay,
what would you have given that? Like a 40?
I'm like a 78. Trevor would have been tougher on that. All right, let's stick with a little bit of Michigan State here, in the form of Peyton Thorne throwing a perfect pass to Trayvon Morgan.
That's a beauty.
Hauls it in, 26-yard Sparty touchdown. Now, I'm going to admit, I'm grading this one on the curve. I've watched a lot of Sparty football this year.
Okay.
Rocky Lombardi is not a good quarterback.
Okay.
Trevor and I have laughed about it repeatedly.
Okay. And
seeing a competent throw from a Michigan State quarterback feels like a delight, feels like an American treasure. As a result, I'm giving it a 99. Grading on the curve. Grading on the curve there. That's like an 80 for any other quarterback, but for a Sparty QB, that's a 99.
40 seconds ago, I was made to feel like a fool for giving out a 99. Okay, here we go. We're going Wake Forest. This is quarterback Sam Hartman connecting with Taylor Morin in the end zone on a 10-yard score. Okay. I'm going to give this a blind score of 90 because he went ahead and jumped over the defender and snatched it. The defender had no idea what just transpired. Give me a 90 on that one.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Let me get to the next one here. And this is a little love from Utah. This game, as I looked at this, it's about the snow, but it's also about, at this point, agility. As a guy with tight hamstrings, I appreciate any big boy that can jump. That is a big boy. That is a big boy jumping over somebody. That is a big boy jumping over somebody in the snow when it is cold. That cannot be easy. I respect that as somebody that can barely touch my knees, nonetheless my toes. I am all in for that level of bendy. As a result, bendiness gets you the 100.
Jesus. Wait. Fitz. No.
You don't like my grading?
It was athletic. It was great. It was fine. It wasn't worth 100, even though none of us could do it. Anyway, I digress. This next one, you might be upset at me because we're staying in the same game. This is Jerry Rice's son, Brendan Rice. A lot of you guys are too young to even know who Jerry Rice is, and that is what makes me feel old.
That juke there.
He had 2 scores for Colorado. One, this 81-yard punt return to the crib, followed that up with a 61-yard score. You're going to see right here for the Buffalo, and this is all about the yak. Just, 1 yard pop out, 60 yards later of just pure outrunning the defense. The 2-score effort was great, but in respect to his Hall of Fame dad, greatest receiver of all time, he gets an 80.
Oh, my God. You are grading on the curve the opposite way. Okay, fine. We got one more holy cow that will show you. I can't understand his scoring system. Mine, flawless. His, not so much. All right, we'll go back to the Georgia game. JT Daniels throwing the deep ball here. George Pickens, even the cameraman got lost on that. And George Pickens just says, no, sir, I want all of the ice cream that's in the container, even the ice cream at the bottom. You just go in and you scoop it up. That's what he got there. It's a beautiful catch, a beautiful adjustment to the ball. Why does it always come back to food for me? That's the real question. In the meantime, I got to give it a score, and I give this one a very good score because he was managed to, when you land on the ball and you still control it all the way to the ground, we all know that that's difficult to do. So in honor and spirit of that, I'm going to give this not an 80. That's the last score. I'm going to give it a 92.
Okay.
I'm ahead of that. We'll give it a 92. That's where we fall with that one. So that's a little bit of our holy cow. In the meantime, it's the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. Gary Striewski and for Trevor Scales, I'm Jason Fitz. These are the games to watch tonight on the ESPN family of networks. Florida taking on LSU right now. That game tied up at 7. Obviously, USC, UCLA, the other game that we've got all eyes on. That one's knotted up at nothing right now. And we're going to get a little bit of expertise now, especially when we talk all things college football, but whenever we're talking about LSU. And I'll never forget last year, standing on the sideline, this year, standing on the sideline of the national championship game, watching what it meant to some of our peers that are also friends, and seeing what it meant to Marcus Spears, what it meant to Ryan Clark, and what it meant to Booger McFarland when you watched LSU win a national championship. With that in mind, that's where we'll start, Boog. So, obviously, I stood there. I saw you. I saw that emotion in that moment. In that moment, this LSU season has gone completely off the rails. It has not been particularly good. So how do you sort of figure out where this team is when it was so high earlier this year and so low right now?
Well, I don't have to figure out where they are. I think, you are what your record says you are. Right now, we're a bad football team, and I think there are a lot of reasons for that. None of which nobody wants to hear. You got to come out in the last couple games of the season and try to build some momentum toward next season and sign in a recruiting class. But I think it's going to be a year that LSU will learn a lot from. I think Coach O will learn a lot from. And hopefully once we get back to normal post-COVID, post-vaccine, hopefully we get back to that by the time we get to next football season, you'll see an LSU team that represents a team that looks more like the one from 2019.
But everybody knows it's sort of one of those, all right, what have you done for me lately businesses? Obviously, Coach O did some unprecedented things, like you just mentioned earlier this year when they were crowned national champions. He also went into Alabama and beat Alabama, won the national championship. So he gets a little bit of breathing room despite this bad season, right? I mean, just in contrast.
Yeah, I mean, I think Coach O's record is 43-14 with the national championship in just 3 seasons. So let's just pump the brakes a little bit. We all are such prisoners of the moment, and we want to overreact, and everybody's terrible. Football is a tough game, guys. And when you have COVID and when you have 16 guys drafted and you have another 5 or 6 opt out and you have some of the things that have been going on down there, we get it. You're playing freshmen. The fact is LSU's averaged a national championship every 5 years over the last 20. I think every program in America would take one of those. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, and you're not wrong. And to throw myself under the bus, that's because Gary and I were arguing about this very point earlier today. So I'll say that I'm the one that came in and said, man, I don't know how much rope O's going to have if it goes off the rails. So I'll take the blame.
In your honor, Booger. I almost fought him in your honor.
I'll take the
let's not. But it's amazing how 11 months removed from a national championship, you're talking about the guy's job. Like, let's just relax a little bit. We're too impatient. And think about this in sports. Think about how many times people wanted to fire Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's been to 2 Super Bowls, won. He's never had a losing season, but because they went 8-8, everybody was ready to fire Mike Tomlin one year. And he's been there with the Steelers now. I think he's the second longest tenured coach in the NFL behind Bill Belichick. So understand this. Football is a hard game. The ball is not perfectly shaped. It doesn't bounce the same way. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But traditionally speaking, the most talented teams and the better coached teams win more than their share. And I think O's record speaks for itself. He's 43-14 with a national championship in a little over 4 seasons.
So let's talk about the self-imposed ban that's coming in this year for a 1-year ban. What do you make when a school comes in and does that to themselves? How effective is it in your mind?
Well, it just depends. I don't know the inner workings of why the ban. I try to stay out of that when it comes to the administration part. Whatever reason they did it, I'm sure they got their reasons. I just know that when a school tries to do that, they're basically trying to get out in front of something. Because I've always learned it's better to be out in front than to be behind. And that's in life, that's in business, and it's no different than in athletics.
So today, LSU's taking on Florida. I want to quickly ask you to move forward one step with it. Florida's going to take on Alabama. We all know that. In your mind, how does that game play out?
Well, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Whichever defense I think that can make some timely stops. You know, Kyle Trask in Florida's offense has been outstanding. Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, Najee Harris. I mean, that offensive line. It's going to be a 42-40 type game, or at least that's how it feels. I just think whichever defense can make a play, man. And sometimes the coaches, you may have to manufacture a play, whether that's an onside kick. Remember Alabama-Clemson in the national championship game, Saban manufactured an onside kick. Remember the Super Bowl, Colts and Saints, Sean Payton, an onside kick. Sometimes you have to manufacture momentum, and so we'll see which team can do that as far as the coach is concerned, and also which defense can get the stops.
Boog, you're the best. Thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Anytime.
Especially during the game, man. Come on.
Exactly. I got to get back to
you got to get out of here. I love that. Look, and by the way, I will say, I keep bringing up Florida because they control their own destiny. They go out and they win today, and they go out and they win the SEC championship game, and all of a sudden, they're in the playoff. I don't care what anybody says. Alabama and Florida will both go to the playoff if Florida wins. Now, I think we have an update on this LSU-Florida game. There's been a pick six. We'll peel behind the curtain. Did they score on it or did they give up? LSU scored on a pick six. They are up 14-7 over Florida, which you can watch on ESPN right now.
Real quick, though, talking about Florida, if they win in that scenario, you talk about who you can out of the top four as it sits right now.
Ohio State,
really?
Yeah. I would not be surprised at all by the time this is said and done to see Clemson avenge their loss to Notre Dame in a close game and see Florida beat Alabama and see those four teams in the college football playoff. And I know that will really tick some people off.
That's interesting.
But I think there's a real shot at Alabama, Florida, and then Clemson, Notre Dame being your top four.
You're talking about two SEC teams and given this year, two ACC teams.
Yeah, and here's the thing.
No representation from.
Here's the thing. I don't care. The four best teams, by the way, we'll get you a live look in at UCLA taking on USC right now. UCLA with the ball. And again, Gary, I don't care. I don't care if it's four teams from one conference. It's supposed to be the four best teams in college football. That's all I care about. USC is trying to make their claim to be higher rated than they are. They're 4-0, but they won their first two games in incredibly dramatic fashion. They easily could be 2-2 right now. Conversely, UCLA's had some games go the wrong way for them. So this could be a better game than we expect.
You know what's unfortunate about everything really in totality of this season and what it's done and affected different conferences? But like USC, you see right now, they're good this year. They're 4-0. They're undefeated. UCLA is having a winning campaign. Chip Kelly's got the Bruins playing well. You heard Mark Sanchez saying, they're going nowhere but up. Washington and Oregon, obviously representing the north of the Pac-12 well. And we saw Colorado playing good football. So, the Pac-12 is good, but there just wasn't enough momentum at all this year, which kind of stinks.
Now, we're going to move over to a little bit of action here from ESPN, and that would be LSU, Florida. We just told you about the pick six. Florida's about to get the ball. So I will say, we've all been so consumed with Florida versus Alabama. The last thing that the Gators need right now is even a close game against LSU, because style points do matter to this committee. Right? If everything is about the eye test, then you got to pass the eye test in the biggest possible way every week.
That's interesting. I still can't get over you booting out any representation from the Big Ten, obviously knowing just how much weight Ohio State has and the reason why they're adjusting the qualifications quite literally to get into the title game.
I mean, the hardest part about it is by that point, you will see who will the biggest wins have been for Ohio State in this scenario? It would have been over Indiana and Northwestern versus Florida, who would have gone in and had this win over Alabama, which is a much bigger win. Florida's one loss being to Texas A&M in a very close game. So
and twice as many games.
That's
literally twice as many games.
And Florida busting a run here. The thing of it is, it's just hard to stop this offense, and we all know that, and that's going to be part of the calling card. But what Booger just said makes so much sense that and I won't forgive the SEC in this conversation either. For years, people have been trashing the defense in the Big 12. It's time to just acknowledge that defense is not what it used to be in college football. Now, if you've got a defense that can hold a team to 28, it's a good defense. And that's a weird thing to say out loud.
That's interesting. What does Kyle Trask have to do to become the front runner in the Heisman? Because really he's going toe-to-toe against Mac Jones, who continues to spin it week in, week out. He can't do much of that.
Yeah, Kyle Trask has got to have a big game here. And then the other big news is that the SEC championship game will take place. I think that becomes sort of the moment that we're going to figure out who's going to win it, is which guy comes out and really is lights out in the SEC championship game. But I'm surprised to see Florida look flat early on in this effort, and I'm not surprised to see LSU playing hard. I'll stand by I think even now the Booger's out of the room and can't beat me up because he's much bigger than I am. I will stand by my opinion that going into last season, people were questioning the job status of Coach O. They were. That's real. And then Joe Brady came in. They reimagined the offense, and they had Joe Burrow. Joe Brady's not there now. Joe Burrow's not there now. And all of a sudden, LSU looks really bad. Now, yes, it's a rebuilding year, and yes, it's COVID-19. But if they have this sort of a season next year, I don't think that there's any rope left for Coach O. He'll get this year plus one more. And if they aren't turning around and incredibly competitive next year, I think LSU fanatics will be calling for it.
I was just about to ask you, give me a timeline, and you just did, and it's still stark to even listen to that coming off of what we saw him do. But I digress, Jason Fitz.
Well, you know what?
To disagree.
If there's one thing if there's one thing we know, time will tell. And by the way, LSU does have the number 4 recruiting class coming into this year. They're going to restock, and I hope that they're better because Coach O really has the pulse of that team. Kyle Trask going deep here.
That's a pretty ball.
Look at that. Oh, got him. And that's just what this offense does. That's what the Florida offense does. This becomes one of those games that, every stop is huge. You can watch that game on ESPN right now. You can check out USC, UCLA on ABC right now. Also, you can authenticate, hang out in the app, and you can get access to all of the ESPN library of games. That's an important note, no matter which game you want to see. So, even though Trevor's not here, we still do this before we get up out of here.
Before we leave.
Well, look at this. Minnesota saying, good game, Nebraska. Thanks for bringing back Big Ten football. It has been the thing this year for every team that whoops Nebraska at any point or beats Nebraska. And it was a close game today. It's become the thing to at them on social with some sort of a reminder that they wanted this.
You have to sleep in the bed that you make. And Coach Frost in Nebraska said, and they swore by it, we're playing football. And if you're going to play football, you have to suffer and live with the consequences of those decisions. So they deserve to get trolled. I love it. Mwah, I love it.
What I do know is you can check Gary out later tonight.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
the wrap-up coming up tonight. No, yeah, you got double duty tonight.
Kelsey Riggs, Christine Williamson.
And what time?
11 o'clock Eastern time. We also got Jackson Heat joining us from Arizona State. Yeah.
Look at that.
History in the making.
If you've never checked out Rankings Reaction, that's on Tuesday with me, Christine Williamson, and Mike Golick Jr. right here, 8 p.m. You can check it out all happening right here digitally. As always, we appreciate you hanging out. Thanks for watching the College Football Show presented by AT&T 5G. Gary Striewski, Jason Fitz. Thanks so much. Join us next week.